Welcome back to Getting Work, ladies and gentlemen. It's been about a minute and a half since we've gone live anywhere.
Man, yeah, live for sure.
What's going on, dude?
Oh, man. How things going? You and your hectic, crazy work weeks and everything else, you know? Here it's been pretty good. Aside from it being just pouring down rain the last several days, it's pretty good though.
Nice, man. Yeah, it's the usual craziness. It is just what it is, you know.
Something to keep you busy.
Dude, I am not lacking in that. That is not a problem I have. I've got plenty to do. Which is good. Got to keep busy, right?
For sure.
But we were talking earlier.
Our ramblings.
Yeah, well, because we were talking earlier, we're thinking about kind of figuring out, maybe we'll do a video on this, maybe we'll do a video on that, kind of blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, screw it. If we're just going to be kind of wildly rambling about stuff, let's just stream it and just rambling and just kind of ramble about it. So that way we don't have to worry about being, organized and shit.
That is exactly right.
Sometimes organized just yeah.
We gotta do that too much here lately.
Yeah.
Well, you wanted to start off. I know we wanted to start off before we got into all of our craziness and making fun of randomness in the NBA or wrestling and everything else. Want to acknowledge the passing of a formative person as far as you and I are concerned. So I'll let you take it from there. I need my comic stuff up behind me.
So I'm sure some folks have heard. Maybe you have. Some folks have not heard. Which is again another reason to stream this. I can't talk. The voice of Batman has passed on. He is going to have to pass his cowl off officially to someone else. One Mr. Kevin Conroy, the original voice of Batman in the animated series, carried that voice over to Justice League cartoons, and then in a lot of the kind of DCU animated movies, especially a lot of the early ones, it was Kevin Conroy carrying that across. And so he pretty much was the guy who put the voice of Batman, and to be honest, especially as far as the quintessential voice of what you would think Batman would sound like. But and not just Batman, but also Bruce Wayne when it was Bruce too. He was able to capture both sides of that figure pretty dang well. And
the thing that I always, whenever it comes to especially the voices, because especially in a cartoon, sometimes you hear it, the voiceovers, you can kind of bounce it back and forth. For me, as you were alluding to, the voice, when I close my eyes, if I'm thinking, oh, hey, Batman is going to say X, Y, or Z, he is the voice that I hear. It's the same for Mark Hamill with the Joker laugh. There's certain people that you just attribute when you hear it in your head, not watching television. If you're just thinking about a show that you watched and Batman is in your mind and you think of him saying something, whose voice do you hear? And for practically, I couldn't imagine anyone in our age group and younger it has to be him. In everything, he even voiced not just the animated stuff. He played Batman. It was a couple. I want to say it was 2019 because I want to say it was before COVID. All that stuff. He voiced Batman on the CW when they did Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Got a chance to actually be an
Bruce
older
Wayne,
version, almost closer to the Batman Beyond iteration.
Yes,
a
little more bitter. a little more bitter in the show. But yeah, absolutely that level.
Yeah.
Which of course
Batman Beyond is more crotchety.
Yeah.
And then in the CW side is a bit more bitter, which is a different thing, right? To be able to help kind of capture that, just kind of spoke to his ability and especially his understanding of the character. And Batman's not an easy character to pull off well. It's been shown. We've got plenty of movies that show that you can't just toss a mainstream actor at it,
I can't imagine what bad Batman movies, you would be talking about, man.
I'll tell you what.
Imagine. I couldn't think of any bad Batman movies.
It's so funny. No. It's bad movies. Clooney's run when he did it,
that's what I was thinking of.
I think that Clooney could have, in a better movie, a better produced movie, and a better written movie,
better written one,
probably could have played it off. Definitely could pull off Bruce Wayne.
Sure,
right?
Because in real life, he kind of is Bruce Wayne.
Exactly.
He's sort of playing,
And so then it's just more a matter: can he do the Batman role, because you got to be able to have somebody, and it's tougher to do in live action, to be able to portray that playboy billionaire and then this tough, gritty street vigilante,
fear based,
crazy, insane, detective, and just especially kind of so Conroy also had the opportunity to pick up Batman in his prime, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay, and this is where other stories have been able to help pick up the recent Batman movie,
Young
where
Batman.
They're been, it's more like Batman in his early going level and actually really kind of developing himself and learning the ropes really. Just kind of learning the ropes, but it's there's no one to teach him. He's figuring out as he goes,
right?
Exactly. Which I think is cool. But Conroy got it. But Conroy had the benefit, but also the responsibility to represent Batman in his prime Batman, and be able to be be that guy, and then to also be able to carry it off in the Justice League shows as well, and then also subsequent movies, to be able to represent that character in the confines of all of these immensely powerful villains and incredibly powerful people that you're trying to work with. And I remember especially the I can't remember what it was called. It was effectively, I think it was called Tower of Babel, where, at least within the comic book arc, but it was represented in the shows, where it was found out that Batman had developed contingency plans for everybody in the Justice League if they went rogue or went insane or became compromised.
I thought that was Doom.
Well, no, it was a movie, but it was also it was represented in the Justice League show.
Right. Yeah, and they came out with a movie later. Yeah, you're right. I remember the show. It's definitely.
And so the movie was it was a separate kind of
deal.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of, because that, and in Doom, I think that they were just first meeting and things like that. And then just some of the scenes that he was able to portray, and also recognize that in a lot of cases the voice actors don't necessarily get to work with the people that are you can have a scene, right? Animation. And the people voicing in the animation, you don't necessarily get the opportunity to work with the person directly.
Sure.
So then you have to answer it, and in his case, it actually helps out because he had to answer it the way Batman would answer it.
And in the movie, you have to be in the movie without being in the movie.
Yeah.
You gotta. I have to, in my mind, visualize everything and have that same that same angst, that same anger, that same whatever it is that I'm trying to show, except I'm standing in front of a microphone just going like this. Okay, now Batman enters the room, says blah, blah, blah. You know, that's extremely hard.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, and then not even be able to see the animation as well. That there's so much to that. And again, everything about, I mean, I don't want to turn this into, you know, Batman the character and not focus as much on the man behind the microphone. But I mean, Batman the character, as you alluded to again, has depth, and Batman's always sort of borderline supervillain. He just is a good guy. He's right on that edge all the time, and you kind of have to have that in his voice when he speaks, where he's, any minute you think, you know, if he sneezes wrong, he's gonna kill the Joker and everybody else dies. And that's his whole.
But it's the whole reason why the Joker character exists, if not works in the first place.
Exactly, because the Joker's like, you are me, so help me.
Called it out, but it was also it was previously called out in the comics, which I think was Killing Joke, where, you know, the whole idea was like, you know, you're just one bad day away from becoming me.
Yeah.
You know,
two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
They're always, and that's Joker's fascination with him. And to have that, and to be able to voice that, and then voice the completely polar opposite of that, Bruce Wayne, the face, Bruce Wayne out in public. What's going on? The Playboy
facade that he created for, and it was always so funny too. It's like work again from like the character itself, and again, I think this is where Conroy did a very good job of capturing too. Just like these little nuances, and this just makes me just want to watch the entire animated series all over again just capture some of that stuff. But there's also things
watch
that
along or something like that.
Things that if we could, through like YouTube doesn't do the watch alongs the way Twitch does, and Twitch only does it for Amazon Prime, like free stuff.
So we'd have to almost do a live stream reactionary
kind of reaction,
where you have the
saying,
little small screen,
even if we're just saying we're starting this episode and we're kind of live reacting to it.
Right.
But there's little nuances that are brought in to that show from the comics that people don't even realize. Like, there's aspects and like episodes that are just in and of themselves are just, in terms of like television, are just such well-written pieces in and of themselves. And one of the things is, and again, this is why I want to watch it again so I can remember, there's aspects of it where it became very, very clear that Bruce Wayne stopped being Bruce Wayne the moment he saw his parents get killed.
Oh, absolutely. The mask. Which one's the mask, right?
Which one's the mask? And and as it got deeper and deeper and deeper, it was, no, I'm physically wearing a mask as Batman, but don't play around. Bruce Wayne is the mask I wear to the public.
Right.
You know, and it's just, I am Batman. I am vengeance. I am the knight. Which shows, that voice.
And again, voicing all of that, you gotta be able to voice crazy. And quite frankly, if you really look down at it, Batman is probably not the most stable person in the world.
Oh no, Batman's nuts. Batman's nuts. Like, let's not even dance around this. Batman is insane.
Yeah, he's full on.
It's his sheer will that keeps him within any kind of boundaries. And that's why he says, like, I will not kill.
That razor's edge the whole time.
Because once he, like, that is the line he has to cross. I will not directly kill. Indirectly, stuff happens, fine. But directly, I will not kill, because once I do that,
I've crossed. I'm over. It's done and done. And to have that always in your voice when getting to those certain points, or that point where you would hear his voice kind of start tailing toward, you could hear the
Conroy,
and
yeah,
I hate
Conroy
to use
did
it, but you would hear the crazy start to
Batman
rise.
as like
know?
some kind of I don't know. I'm losing the words. Like he wasn't playing Batman as some kind of icon, some kind of just pure representation of justice. And again, it's what he says. He's like, no, I am vengeance.
Yeah, it's not
I am the
necessarily
knight.
justice.
It's a different thing, and just kind of the gruffiness and stuff like that. But also going back to how he, played the character playing off of other characters. Because back to the Tower of Babel again, Batman had contingencies for every single member of the Justice League, and then Superman's like, well, what's your contingency for yourself? And Conroy, again, one word, voiced this perfectly. Again, talking to Superman, he says, you. I mean, he says it in one word, but it's like, I trust you more. Enough. I trust you. You are the one. You are the one.
Because you're the only one, too. Not only, yeah, you're the only one.
But he's like, he was the only one he would trust. Power. But I don't think it had less to do with Superman, because there were plenty of people with enough power to take Batman out. The Flash really, like, truly, if you really look at like true to form Flash's power, if he really wanted to, he could, contingencies aside,
run back in time and kill his parent. Wait, no.
Well, that already happened.
Flash. But we're gonna have a conspiracy theory stream. Maybe it was Flash who really killed Batman's parents.
It was Flash all along.
It was Flash all along.
There's, I mean, Wonder Woman could snap his neck. I mean, how Aquaman, he talks to fish. Well, yeah. He could still snap. He trusted. Batman, Aquaman sucks. He sucks underwater. But there's plenty. I mean, hell, Martian Manhunter.
That's what I was going to say. Martian Manhunter.
Superman said himself was like the one guy that really toe to toe he would not want to have to go against. I mean, hell, Shazam, formerly Captain Marvel. There's plenty of people on the Justice League. At the end of the day,
Batman is only a human.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, he's a rich human, but he is only a human. But it was his mind as well. But it's also why he has his bosom buddy, yet hated enemy, sort of, in a way. Not hated enemy, that's the wrong term. But rival, I guess.
Some professional rival.
Professional rival is Superman.
Rival kind of thing.
Because he's all of the things Batman's not.
Right.
Aside from them both being orphaned early in life.
Sure.
That's where their similarities begin and end.
They share. Yeah.
But
the one thing that
one grew up on a farm, one grew up in the city, one grew up, with a loving set of parents.
Exactly.
Not necessarily his parents.
Out. Yeah.
But a set of parents. One was an orphan. One's super rich. One's on a farm. I mean, he's not the probably richest kid in the world.
No, not at all.
And then how they have dealt with their grief. One's a shining beacon of light, and one hangs in the shadows, and wears a mask all the time. There's the dynamic is always there.
Batman's traditional nickname for Superman was Boy Scout.
Boy Scout, yeah, absolutely.
And it kind of speaks. It was kind of also represented with the Iron Man, Captain America dynamic.
Oh, absolutely.
In the MCU.
Yeah, that was clearly where they were going the whole time with that.
A lot of that played more into kind of the DC dynamic between Batman and Superman than what was in the comics. The comics touched on it, but it wasn't like what was represented in the movies was much closer to the Batman, Clark, Batman, Superman.
Sure.
Clark
and Bruce, right?
And I think again, like outside again of not like directly. The other thing that they had together was a holding back like not being willing to directly kill,
or to go all out. They
go
were always
completely all out. Well, Batman would have to go all out sometimes, much more.
well,
obviously,
all out.
Superman,
as in,
like,
Batman could also kill you should he,
oh,
if he was really going all.
Like,
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Superman was always pulling a punch because he was like, you will end up on Mars.
Batman, like, especially with a lot of people he was dealing with, they were playing in situations. Yeah, it'd be very easy for him to just end it very, very, very easily, and especially Batman,
and almost be justified. Be justified doing so.
I mean, in a lot of cases, but just the fact that but also I think that. And people talk about like Batman, whether he should be a superhero or not, and all of these things. My take is that, well, if you're taking on super villains and able to best them, powers or not, you're a superhero.
Right there in the name. Fighting super villains, that makes you the opposite.
It's not, and it's like a lot of cases where it's not like Batman, like when he was first getting started out, probably was not accounting for people with the powers that he was facing. Like,
oh, sure.
And it's just kind of where he ended up.
Yeah, it's common street thugs
for the most part. But then you get to like Poison Ivy, Clayface, Mr. Freeze, like Bane, Ra's al Ghul, who's an immortal, effectively.
Yeah, right.
You are dealing with people that are far beyond street thug level, and it's kind of like when did that? That's probably where the whole prep time thing really kind of came into play. He's like, I got to figure out what the heck's going on with these people, because there's no way, there's not enough money to throw at this problem. Because if it doesn't matter if it's not, I could throw all the money in the world, but if it's not planned and executed properly, it's done. It doesn't matter.
If you're fighting, what I can't say his name, but I call him Mixapidlix or whatever his name was. The magic man. What are you gonna do? Okay, I have money, and now I don't. It's an elephant. I don't know. I got nothing. I don't know. But
but anyway, we're kind of getting into the Batman thing. But it's just and what it really boils down to, really just all of that was so well performed, so well represented by this guy with his voice alone. Like, it's up on the screen and everything. But there's plenty of times you can kind of just sort of glance off on things, kind of fiddle around. You have the show in the background, but that voice is you're hearing that voice. It's getting you, because
that's
motherfucking
like said,
Batman. That's all it is.
That's it right there.
Batman, and it's you just kind of get, there's just little subtleties. And I ask everyone who can. If you don't have it, they have the full season of Batman animated series, and then they have the Batman and Robin and everything on HBO Max right now. So,
nice.
If you're not an HBO Max subscriber already, or if you are, if you're not, you want to kind of maybe pick it up for a little bit. You can always
all the DC stuff, pretty much anything
pretty
DC,
much,
you want to kind of go there.
Pretty much.
And we are not paid for this, though. If HBO would like to reach out.
Not a sponsor. Always looking for sponsors.
Not sponsored.
Not a sponsor. But it's all on HBO Max. So I know, like, a good part, like my downtime as part of this holiday season coming up. Probably going to figure out where I can kind of start to kind of throw on some of that Batman animated series. I might kind of resurrect my Saturday morning cartoon routine or something, maybe. And,
I've missed my Saturday morning cartoons, man.
I'll find sometimes that's where I'll watch
ourselves. Where
I'll find the random animes. That's where I'll watch random animes. I'll just get a cup of coffee and I'll throw on some animes or something on Saturday mornings, just because it's Saturday morning. What else am I gonna do?
Yeah, what I'm supposed to be doing here. Yeah. So my son and I are getting into watching. He's read all the comics, but Chainsaw Man is now on Hulu. So it's subbed, so you gotta do some reading, but it's actually pretty good. I think there's only 6. It's live, so they're actually like release it week to week.
Release it like week.
I think it's up to 6. I think there's gonna be 10 episodes if I have this right. Season 1, basically. That's 10 episodes. Cool, but yeah, Chainsaw Man. So yeah.
I've been seeing a lot. It's been stuff that I've been seeing pop up in my YouTube feed that I haven't watched because I don't want to get spoiled on it. And
Sure.
I might have to. Maybe it's something I might try and catch, especially if they finish up the season, if they hold on to it. That's pretty weird. That's where I usually watch One Punch Man and things like that.
Yeah, because that's all on Hulu, I think.
I believe so.
Assuming you don't have, we're just going to talk about all the streaming platforms
like
now. Crunchyroll
or something.
Yeah, Crunchyroll. Right. Yeah, I was going to say we have that as well. So
especially I think Hulu will run the dubs when they come out. They'll have the subs and the dubs for a lot of them.
Subs and dubs.
But like I think like the fresh one, like right now it makes sense that it's only being released with subs. Because it's coming out live.
Well, right, so, it's the first one, so it's that's
like Attack on Titan is on Hulu,
right?
Overlord's on.
So I'm waiting for that to come out. I'm waiting for that to finish up.
Overlord?
Yeah, Black Clover's. No, Attack on Titan.
Oh, for the anime, yeah.
For the anime to finish up, because where I left off. Well, it's old, so I was gonna stop for a spoiler reason, but in case you haven't seen it, and you don't want to know, plug your ears for about 10 seconds. But basically, I'm at the part where Eren has gone full on Super Saiyan and changed into a giant spider and is coming across the water. So he's that's where it ended. That's where it ends. So it's on the sub. So it's supposed to be coming out in January, I believe. It's in January. So the rest of it, I got to go back and look at. Little man, he knows it right off the top of his head. He'll rattle it off to me. But
yeah,
we're looking forward. We're definitely looking forward to that.
I'm waiting for that show to finish up, and then I want to watch it all again because there's some interesting, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, there's like some very interesting kind of political undertones and things to the story that definitely helps if you go and kind of watch them again, understanding kind of where they're pointing to and kind of already understand. Okay, you already understand what's going to happen. Now kind of go back and watch it again and kind of start to pick up and kind of just things you didn't catch the first time. And
because you're watching it the first time, you're not seeing all the underhanded stuff because you don't know it's underhanded at the time.
Yeah.
It's sort of like watching back to a lesser degree. It's not nearly as deep, but if you look back at Star Wars and watch the early ones all the way through, by the time you get to where the Emperor in 6 is doing X, Y, or Z, you're like, I saw all the moves and all the pieces and why they're there. So much lesser. Like I said, it's not as.
This is why I'm glad that Disney Plus is doing more of the non-Jedi Star Wars shows. So they cover like the Mandalorian. Okay, that's a new character. Okay, but now we're bringing in Boba Fett, kind of showing what's happening with him. But now, especially like Andor. And then, especially some of the movies, like Rogue, leading into Rogue One, which wasn't as panned as the later true to form Star Wars movies were.
Sure.
Because it's the way those underlying political things and kind of you're seeing a rebellion truly developing almost from the ground up. But you're very much close to the real
you see the whole universe, as in not every planet, but more than just wherever the Skywalkers are.
Exactly.
You know, planet.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that type of thing. So you see why the Empire, like you're told the Empire is bad. Okay, what occasionally Vader goes like this and gets angry at somebody. But aside from that, okay, yeah, all right, it's the government. Nobody trusts. Yeah, I get that. But why are they bad? You see why they're bad. Like you starting to see the
being done,
the issues that are
also,
popping up.
Especially, I don't know if you've seen Andor yet.
I haven't.
I
was gonna let it end and then
go watch it.
Watch it all
I think it does a really good job of. This has been a meme for a while about Star Wars stuff, about the janitor on the Death Star. You know, is that guy really evil?
Right.
You know, and it kind of starts to show some people kind of more on the Empire side that really at the end of it all, from their perspective, they're just doing their job.
Yeah, it's just
it's
just business.
They're not malicious.
Mm-mm.
This is where they work. This is what they're tasked to do. They don't understand, like it doesn't really come off as evil to them.
They don't even see it from the evil side. No, this is my 9 to 5. This is how I provide for family, or whatever their clones would be.
But even like some of the higher up, and it kind of goes into kind of some of the higher levels within like their military ranks, right?
Yeah,
and it's
sure.
No, they're not. They're not doing it because they're evil people. They're doing it because, like, from their point of view, it's their duty,
right?
And so then it's
to keep order and like all the things that governments would tell you if you were,
from their perspective,
they were trying to manipulate
the right
you.
thing. Best what they know, they're doing the right thing, and then it's always kind of like where you have from like a narrative perspective, then you have the opportunity to play it off of like, okay, well, what happens if they find when they find out that they're not actually doing the right thing, or at the very least,
then the dilemma,
like,
right?
They're like really not just from their perspective, but like given the nature of what they do, like they would have every right to see it as being the right thing to do, because given the limited information that they have.
Sure.
Then they see the broader picture, and I think that's something that they're opening up here, and just little things like that where you can expand that universe and say, hey, okay, it's easy to kind of look at it as like black and white, good and evil, but and again, pointing back to Batman, it's the gray that's much more interesting.
Sure.
And
it's why Marvel is more interesting character for character than DC. And I like DC. I like DC better. Like, Superman's my favorite, all that good stuff. But character for character movies. I mean, just look at the movies themselves.
From the movies,
forget the politics behind the movies, but I mean the actual produced movie.
Yeah.
But Marvel characters are more interesting movie, and the only one in DC that rivals that would be Batman, because he's in the moral gray. He's always playing that. That's where he lives. So he may be the knight and all that, but he sure does like gray as far as
the complexities
morality and things like that. But
written into the Marvel comics much earlier than it was in DC, where DC was much more of here's the good guys, here's the bad guys kind of thing. DC comics got much better about that, but Marvel definitely hit it on the head very early, and I mean really especially with the X-Men.
You saw their struggles as people,
but also the whole,
even if they were super entities, the human-esque side of them.
But also,
they made mistakes.
What was great about the X-Men as mutants is that they were able to use mutants as an umbrella for social justice.
Oh, absolutely!
Without hitting you over the head with it. Let me repeat that.
Let me
repeat that. Without hitting you over the head with it.
So, oh my goodness. Yeah. There's so many
there's
smart
been
comments that I have in my head. I'm like, should I say
there's
that on?
there's
I don't
been
know.
there's been like the path is like there are people that have already done the hard work.
Yeah.
To tell those kinds of stories in comic books.
Yes.
And to be able to help represent that appropriately and still tell compelling stories and not like shoehorn things in and then kind of not have the like I call it the end of the G.I. Joe show moment.
Mm-hmm.
Where they would have the thing after, so you'd have the whole G.I. Joe show. There would be some kind of moral conundrum, but it'd be written within the story, and then they'd have the thing at the end after this. It was not canon.
No.
Then what you would have was the show was, and then you would have the thing at the end that would basically kind of lay it out for you, just in case the kids missed it. But it's like, hey. Here's the lesson, right? Yeah. Okay, but it wasn't part of the show, right?
No.
So, but then you see
every time.
Now you see shows now where it's like you start to kind of see kind of this almost kind of drawn out, kind of end of G.I. Joe moment, kind of
the whole show,
like
taking away from the story, or inserting it in a place where I should be focusing on Batman or something, in
the narrative, what's happening,
and instead you're telling me like, hey, see, we have a random person of color or a not person of color or a man or a woman or like in a spot where it's like, okay, well, that's not what, huh? Okay, that's a turn. That's not what we were expecting. Yes, okay, we should have had more of that in the past. Great, it's not what we're talking about now though. Let's kind of keep going with what Batman was going to do. I always think of, anytime I start thinking of that, and especially when it comes to being in a show, I know you've seen the movie. Do you remember Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood?
Of course.
Legitimately, every single time I think of, I see one of the shows, then something stupid is happening where, they're trying to send you a message. I always expect, Keenan to like pop up and be like, message, just walk off screen. That every single time that pops in my head. So if you haven't seen that movie, you have to go back and see it, because it was always this one part of the movie, and especially movies during that time period when this came out. I guess it was like mid 90s. I want to say. Yeah. And there was always this dramatic scene of heart-wrenching, the struggle in the inner city or whatever it was. There was always this moment where the music would get quiet and somebody would start crying, and there was always this moment that would happen every single movie. And some movies it'd be 5-6 times throughout the movie. Anytime something like this happened, and they kept ramping it up. Like each time they do this scene, they made it even
and that's the
more
thing
ridiculous.
Is it's become insane now, but this is not a new problem in Hollywood.
No. Yeah. And so by the end, it was one of the Wayans brothers. I can't remember which one. What's the youngest one? Marlon. Yeah, Marlon. The craziest one. Marlon just basically starts spitting gibberish, and I mean complete. And he's going and it goes on for a while. And by this time, Keenan has come in and out of the. Every time he would pop out of windows and stuff like that when they would get to this deep moment of the movie, and he'd be like, "Message," and then just walk off. And that would be it. That was all he did. He just pop his head, unrelated to the movie whatsoever. That's better than what sometimes actually happens in the movie. But by the end, they had ramped it up so many times. Keenan just kind of pops in, and he, like I said, Marlon's been sitting there gibbering for a minute or so of nothingness. Literally, you couldn't understand a word he said. And Keenan just kind of walks in and is like, I don't know. It just walks off. I got nothing.
Well, I saw, it was so funny because especially back in the 90s, I remember reading an article in the New York Times that was put forth by it was written by someone who it wasn't famous, but kind of one of those unknown names that was a pretty deep player within Dr. King's home movie. And
Gotcha.
effectively what they were saying was like, tell me give me one moment, catch him on video, catch him on audio, catch Martin Luther King talking about how the way to get there is through beating people over the head in movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Because, again, back then, it was an escape. You know?
Yeah. We have enough bad stuff happening.
We're both Star Trek
we need to go somewhere.
fans.
I was just getting ready to say we were working to the same thing. I was going to say Star Trek is the shining example
of how to do it.
All of how to do it. I always think of the one, especially when it comes to like the message type of deal. The one, this is back in the 60s. And so you think of all the stuff that goes on in the 60s, right? And you may have been working there. I apologize if I cut you off on your trajectory.
No, go with it, man.
I can't remember the episode name, but I can remember the entire time is they meet this alien race. And the alien race, this is what they look like. Legitimately, right down the middle of their face is a line.
Yep.
On one side is the blackest black. On the other side is the whitest white. So left side is white, right side is black. They had a civil war, pure hatred. The whole planet was about to be ripped apart because there was another group of people on the planet who was the opposite. It was flipped.
Yep.
Black on the left, white on the, and they hated each other. Now we obviously know. I mean, that was about as heavy-handed as they got, and yet the show didn't feel heavy-handed.
No,
and that like it was very clearly what they were talking about. We knew what they were talking about.
And
it's silly, and Star Trek.
Enterprise
gets there and it's like, this is stupid, and everybody goes, yeah, it is stupid.
Exactly.
Wait, it's stupid.
Oh,
yeah, I get it now. Yeah,
so dumb. Like, what?
Yeah, you're right.
It's just, and it does speak to where the unfortunate truth is that if that's how the genetics would have worked out, that's what it would just through like crazy like constructs of time, we'd be having this podcast. And you and I would have like flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
completely. Right.
And
I could have long blonde hair, man. You don't know.
You could. I don't know.
Just so I can go like
point
this.
It doesn't matter.
That's my goal. That's my goal.
And it's I mean, yeah, that's kind of where I was going to think, like, just the whole nuances of, especially that first Star Trek run, and especially since it ran in the 60s.
Oh my goodness.
Good Lord.
I went back and looked at some of those I mean, I've seen them all, but
sure.
I went back and watched. I saw them all as a kid, and then going back and watching them as an adult, you go, oh, wow, that was, and knowing all that was going on.
Yeah.
The first interracial kiss, that was huge.
Well, that's actually what I was going to point to on Star Trek.
Yeah.
That's the one I was actually going to. But you look at the way they set that up. It was because they made it more about the fact. They made it more about the fact that it wouldn't be something that those two individuals would do personally, as there's there's the professional confines of it, but then also kind of their mutual friendship with each other that they wouldn't do otherwise.
Sure.
And it was this weird, like, mind control kind of thing. They weren't themselves.
Right.
And then it happened, but it wasn't played off. They did not overtly speak to some kind of idea that they wouldn't have done it because she's black and he's white.
Right.
Right? It was handled very differently. There were reasons why that wouldn't happen, but race wasn't one of them.
Color wasn't the issue.
Color wasn't the issue. And so they were able to show, but the thing is, it's like, by doing it that way, they're able to show that they can have things like that happen where, yeah, there can be other issues involved and color's not one of them. That's how you do it. Because that should be the ideal. That should be the ideal, where color is not really the thing here. There's other things that could happen between. Of course, the captain shouldn't be kissing his communications officer.
Right. Yeah.
Of course, they're professional. They're professional friends.
Yeah.
And they don't have that kind of a relationship. So then it could cause like complications and awkwardness and things like that. That's just natural human interaction, you know? It has nothing to do with the race. And they do it, they did it back in the freaking 60s.
Oh yeah.
So much better than what's being represented now.
For sure.
But
anyhow, I was gonna say that's
to twist it back to Chappelle here.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it, without spoiling very much, kind of spoil it with the my people on a boat thing, but trust me, just watch it. But seriously, watching Chappelle, and this is more of an advertisement than anything else. Chappelle playing the Rick James character as another character, but like the old school Dave Chappelle show, Rick James, instead of the F your couch, he's basically doing F your dragon.
Yeah, on the House of Dragons, because we talked about that before we got on stream. We just on them. Yeah,
but watch it. But also his monologue before his intro monologue.
I didn't catch Saturday Night Live this past one. I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was on Saturday. Yeah, I didn't catch that one. So I've got to go back and watch.
Yeah,
I've just started watching House of Dragons. So we were talking about before we got on stream. I just started watching that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm up to episode 4. I usually try to let stuff end and then go back and watch it later because there's nothing more annoying to me. You and I grew up with we got to wait till next week and boy, don't miss next week, because if you missed like one of episode 3 of 10, you wouldn't see episode 3 for like
gonna be
6 months. Yeah. So you would just have to assume that episode 3 never happened and just kind of skip to episode 4. Now it just irks me to no end. That and commercials just in the middle of shows now anyhow. So I've got like the Hulu without commercials and stuff like that.
You got it. Yeah.
So now like with a commercial, I'm like, dang on, what's live television? What the heck is happening? Football games are absolutely killer for me. They're like, oh my goodness.
That's where wrestling kind of smartened up, because they started doing that picture-in-picture. Now, most of the stuff that's going on during the commercial is just kind of dead action, but at least it's
because they know they're a commercial, right?
Kind of listen to the
think
commercial.
I remember one time, one match ended during commercial, and it was sort of, they did it intentionally. It wasn't like an accident.
Yeah.
It was one of those, we have to show that it's real, you know, anything can happen at any time. But yeah. So anyhow, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna. So Chappelle had. I won't ruin it for you or anybody else. But Chappelle had an incredible monologue about. Because I mean, if really honestly, if anyone is handling the discussion about racial tensions the right way, and a lot of other tensions, to be honest with you, in my opinion, it's Dave Chappelle, because he's coming at it just honest.
That's what it is.
Yeah, he's not coming at it from some kind of like entity trying to appease a broader audience and also trying to appease a vocal minority. He's looking at it from, and I mean, I hear you reflect a lot of the kind of similar kind of stuff. It's like, look, you tell me, but from my perspective, I would almost see it like a lot of the stuff going on was almost kind of like almost more insulting than anything else.
There's always a balance you want to strike. Whereas it's like, okay, it's nice that more representation and things like that. Absolutely. Should have happened a long time ago. Shouldn't even be a thing. Shouldn't, but now let's not overdo it either. You know, don't just give me something because of that. You know, I like, you know, I work hard. I try to do, you know, a good job at whatever. You know, I'm just making up kind of this fictitious job, but, you know, I work hard at it. Don't just, you know, give me a promotion because a chromosome happened to.
That you actually do work at the job you actually do.
Right. You know, it's like, all right, yay. I should get it because I'm good at it. You know, not because some color happens.
Also, especially
y'all haven't done a good job with that.
This whole, and like, a lot of this, you know, this over. I think the biggest problem is that what a lot of this stuff is representing is that it's highlighting the fact that the people in these positions that are trying to representation are completely
disconnected from anything remotely related.
Not even, colorblind's not the right word. It's tone deaf. They're tone deaf. That's the one. They're completely tone deaf to what's actually happening and what's really pointed. And kind of, again, it speaks to that point that the person was talking about with Dr. King, and like at no time did he talk about shit needing to be on television shows. He was talking about like real actual, like, let's get down to real people getting, like, because, you know, so television shows aren't supposed to be that.
We're slippery. We're easily going down a slippery slope road. So you're absolutely right. We need to do a different stream.
So this actually, the segue I was actually trying to go through about Chappelle.
Yeah,
because Chappelle was talking about Kanye, which then ended up going to Kyrie. But that's, again, like a whole nother can of worms going on with them too. And
oh my goodness, my head hurts.
It's I'm more using that as kind of like this a cap off, because we're just not going to go there right now. We're not going to go with Kanye and the Kyrie thing right now, because there's from first of all, Kanye, I'm not seriously, I'm not going to bother, because next month, unless is truly his death now, which maybe it is, and me personally, I'm not going to complain about that. But if it isn't his death now, it's going to change next month.
Oh yeah.
And then with Kyrie, we've already talked about Kyrie. Talked about Kyrie to death, right?
Yeah. Go check out our links, our other videos where we talked bit ad nauseum.
We talked through this guy, and really, we don't have any other new insights about the situation than that they were already voiced at the time when we did it.
Still a moron, so yes, that's pretty.
And Dave actually does. Dave actually does say something along the lines that I talk about Kyrie. I think the guy actually just needs help. So again,
because at some point you go. At what point do you stop? The little kids laying out on the floor, throwing a tantrum and jumping and bouncing. You react once, you react twice. After that, you know what? You just you either need the spanking or sleep or whatever it is. It's going to be a thing over there that you need to handle. And we're going to move on.
Let's talk about the reason why I kind of led at the segue into the Kyrie, because it's a good segue into just the NBA in general. So
sure.
Let's actually talk about basketball. What's actually going on in basketball. And so and Ian and I didn't plan this anywhere near as well as we probably should have. So given that, I think an easy starting point is, let's talk about your Bulls, man. What's going on there? How's things looking? What are you thinking?
They're not right. The shortest, and I'll try to stay not completely fan oriented. I'll try to stay more on the analytical side of it.
Yeah,
they're not right, and they're not kind of right. So their starters are all out of sorts. Every game is almost, with the exception of a few, cut and paste. You could write the headlines, you could write the story, change a couple of people's names, a couple of people's scores, and it would be the same writing though. Their starters come out flat. And then they go to they're deep. That's, their 1 through 10 is deep, but their bench has to come in. So Dragic comes off the bench. He's the point guard. Andre Drummond comes off the bench. Kobe White is coming off the bench. Hasn't been horrible. He hasn't been great, but he hasn't been horrible this year. A little all over the place, but that's what he is. All of the things that started happening at the end of last season have carried over to this one, except the expectations are that it would have been fixed.
Sure.
We still don't have Lonzo Ball, and so that's sort of the saving grace. That's the thing that everybody's kind of like, oh, well, when we get Lonzo Ball, I'm not so sure. I'll be honest with you, I'm really not so sure that Lonzo Ball is the cure-all that they're claiming he's going, or people are feeling, especially as fans. Oh, once we get him back, once we get Lonzo back, well, Lonzo isn't Kevin Durant. He's not coming in. He's not LeBron. He's not that guy. Yes, he does kind of make all the pieces work, but their energy is bad. And there's a lot of stuff. You can tell Zach is either still getting into shape or attempting not to get hurt, and he's not quite right. It's just a little all over the place because of that. DeMar is DeMar. DeMar is fine. Does he ISO ball a little bit too much? Yeah, a little bit, but he's the best player on the team right now, and that does include Zach. The biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues, like energy is the issue, which you almost start questioning now. Coaching, does coaching start coming up because the energy isn't there? Game in, game out, every single night, it's always the same thing. The starters come in, the Bulls go down, the bench comes in, the Bulls catch up or take the lead, the starters come in, it kind of starts waning. Something is just not gelling. And so you start wondering, is it the coaching? A lot of people, a lot of Bulls fans are calling for Billy Donovan to be fired and stuff like that. I don't think we're near that requirement by any stretch of the imagination. When we do another put up or shut up, I will say there is a guy on the team that I definitely want to do a put up or shut up, and that's Patrick Williams. I'm sick and tired of him. You either do it. This is your third year, man.
Should have got off the
pot. I get youth. I get all of that stuff. Okay, yes, being on the court with 2 All-Stars and a third former All-Star with Vooch. Not a lot of shots. You feel timid to, take the shot. You came in as a 18, 19-year-old. Fair enough. Totally understand that. Year 2, you got hurt. Okay. Hey, that's not your fault. But it's still the same issue, and that's non-aggression. And that is always their problem. It's aggressive.
I will take aggression and then needing to fine-tune it. Right? Mm-hmm. Versus a problem with aggression.
And you can dialing it back is a lot better than dialing it up.
Exactly. That's more of a matter of experience and figuring out okay, let's that's where you can like through practice and things like that. That's where we can figure out okay, in these circumstances we need you to do this. Blah, 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 and to try and figure that out. But timidness is and again talk about like early on, to me that's a red flag.
Right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
if you're younger and
usually you're young and brash.
Exactly. That's what I want to see.
What you hear.
That's what I want to see. And it's I can't put you in because you're too hot right now.
Yeah.
I need you to cool down. Hey.
Love it. Keep
it. We're gonna get there.
Bottle it.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there, buddy. And if I see that, it's in my head as a coach, I'm hey, you know what? And I mean, GM's
that.
Oh, why are you I'm and that's where my job as a coach is talking to them. It's no, look, that guy, I'm not worried about that guy.
And it would
especially at that stage.
You're ready to go to war. That guy's going to be, he may be out in front of all the troops and just running aimlessly into battle, but he's there. He's
timidness is harder to, timidness is a lot more legwork on the coaching side.
Yeah.
To coerce.
And he does it. There'll be just times it's yes, you made the right play. The ball came to him and he flipped it around to the other side. You wheeled it around great. Or just hear me out. Take the freaking shot.
Yeah.
Or also you're, 6'8", 6'9". The guy guarding you is 6'2". Run him over.
Bully ball his ass.
Take him down his side and push him out the way. And
I'll take him getting a foul.
Absolutely. Okay, you got a charge. Thank you for going in this direction toward the basket. You're a good ball handler.
It's
he's 6'8", 6'9", and he has guard skills because he was short. Well, short being 6'1", 6'2". For most of his and he hit a growth spurt when he was 16 or 17. So he had been a point guard up until that. So he has guard, handle the ball skills, but won't catch the ball, take somebody off the dribble and drive. I'm what that's what makes you different.
You know who had a who had a similar genetic path?
Who's that?
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, he's no Dennis. Lord, if he could crack
Dennis
into
Rodman was
if he could
smaller.
have cracked into the, well, Pippen, Scotty was that too. Scotty was 6'2", 6'1" or 6'2", because nobody. That's why he went to Central Arkansas.
Right.
He went to Central Arkansas and then grew after he was there.
Growth spurt. Rodman wasn't quite as bad, but it was a similar approach. Rodman started small, but he never really like that just wasn't like, it just wasn't him. It just wasn't who he was. So he never really
skills
so he was so but then he would like talk about like why like you're 6'7", probably closer to 6'6", like jumping around, like grabbing rebounds from everybody, because like this is what I've been doing since I was 5'10".
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I just now have the body to do it.
That's who he was. That's just that he didn't. Now he didn't have, like, he just never was somebody that was like that, like the whole ball handling and bringing up the ball and all this stuff. He developed. Robert was a hell of a lot more well-rounded player than people gave him credit for.
Do it. Yeah,
but that it just wasn't his. It wasn't what he liked to do. It wasn't his ballywick. Let's put it that way.
The guy on the team right now that probably fits the best into that mold would be Javonte Green. Javonte Green's the opposite issue of he just doesn't have the skills. He's also all of 6'3", playing power forward,
but just freaking just is all over the place.
The effort's never a question.
No,
he will try. No. He is cutting to the basket. He takes shots. You're like, well, to be fair, he doesn't take bad shots. It's just that he's not a good shooter. So he is wide open. It is a good shot, as in you are technically open. You are doing it when you're supposed to. You're just not a good shooter.
He's one of those dudes that could be off my bench all day.
Oh, absolutely.
And
that's the problem with him. To be fair, here's the, if you want to sum up the issue when it comes to Patrick Williams, he's a nice guy. And the preseason, I'll give you, like, it sums up. It sounds so weird and broken to complain about this, but the fact is, I don't want a whole lot of nice people on my basketball or football or baseball team. I don't.
Damn, no, you don't.
It sounds crazy, but like, you don't want good people. No, I don't. I really don't. I want some people that have some serious broken features in their personality. You know, it's what it is. Not everybody. They don't all have to be morons. I get that, but if you do, you'll have the Brooklyn Nets. So
here's the thing.
But the summit. Let me.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
To sum up the problem when it comes to Patrick Williams, this preseason, he was. They hadn't decided who was going to be the starting power forward, and they asked. This was after game 3, I want to say, of the preseason, because there's only 4 now. So it was early. They had played a few games, but it was still kind of up in the air because the Bulls didn't name a power forward starter until, I want to say, night 1, to be honest with you. They go up to him and they interview him. So again, this is not rookie Patrick Williams. This is not second year. This is not hurt second year Patrick Williams. This is third year. You've had all off season. You've had your first real off season. Normal. There's no COVID. There's no nothing else going on. You've had all of that. You've had training camp. You're here preseason. You should be the starter. You were the number 4 pick in the draft, et cetera, et cetera. That's your spot. And instead of him going, that's my spot. And I don't mean he had to be in the, asshole kind of way, bad teammate kind of thing. But you can say something. Right. That's my spot. I expect to be the starter. That's my position.
This is mine until somebody takes it from me.
And they're not taking it from me because that's my spot. Because this isn't old man. This isn't I'm fading. My star is fading, and this young guy is coming up behind me. This is my star. I'm ascending. I am now in year 3. I have grown into my body. I am very comfortable in my skin, and this is my area now. That it wasn't said. And they asked him, and he comes back and he says, "Well, whatever's best for the team, and that's up to the coach to decide who's going to be the power forward. I'm going to just keep working hard, and no matter what the team needs, I will be there to give whatever the team needs." That's nice. And you should go to Thanksgiving dinner and say that, and that's very sweet. But I'm sorry, you are 6'8", 6'8"-ish, 6'9", I think 6'8", 2 something, and the guy that you're competing with isn't a grizzled veteran, isn't some other, he's not fighting against Andre Drummond. Drummond's a veteran, that type of thing.
Yeah,
he's not struggling with Vooch. He's not struggling with some former all-star or current all-star. He's not struggling with that. He is struggling with a late drafted, if not drafted. Quite frankly, I don't know when Javonte Green was drafted. I got to go back and look at that. 6'3" guard playing power forward. That's the guy you're competing against. And you can't beat him out. Clear, it shouldn't even be a beating him out. It shouldn't be a question.
Sure.
This is season 3, number 4 draft pick. All these skills, et cetera, et cetera. We hear about. Oh, you just can't. Boy, he's going to be a lockdown defender. He hasn't played defense real well this year. He's going to be able to be a knockdown shooter. Well, he hadn't shot really well this year. All of the things. Well, he's going to be more aggressive. Well, I mean, sometimes it's like you have to tell him, hey, be aggressive. Oh, okay, I'm aggressive. But it's at weird spots and not in the flow of the game when he should get the ball and be aggressive immediately. Right. It's instinctual. Right. You just know there's right. Boom.
Yeah.
It's not there. You can see him get the ball. His head almost, you can see him tilt for a second, engaging offense.
Right.
Drive.
Yeah.
Here we go. And that's what goes on. So anyhow, that's my rant. Go ahead.
Dude, you did a great job, man. Because there's three key things popped into my head as you were talking, right? First of which, I may get these mixed up. I might even forget. We were talking about needing a little bit of asshole.
Yeah.
In this. And this brings me, and again, being kids in the 90s, remember this. The whole idea of Charles Barkley on the commercial saying, I'm nobody's role model.
I'm not paid to be a role model.
But he's also one of 1% of people that have the ability to play professional basketball. He's an anomaly. Yeah. And I'm sorry, also at his time, part of maybe, I don't know, what numbers you want to give it? 5-ish% at best percent of that 1% of people right. that can play basketball.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Why are people expecting those dudes to represent normal people?
And that's the Bulls in a nutshell. Their issue is Zach LaVine is a nice guy. You can see it, you can see the moments where there's that little twinkle in his eye where he gets kind of annoyed. But he's so smooth and he's so easy. His way. I don't want it to come off to sound like there's a joke as far as on Bulls Twitter and things like that when it comes to the dog. He got that dog in him. It comes from an old coach who will remain nameless, but he was a moron. The one
but
before.
He had a point.
But you gotta have that dog in you. Okay, yes, sure. Quite frankly, most NBA players have some sort of that. That's how they got there. But when you're in a room where everybody's got the same amount, then that means no one has it unless you stand out.
I think where it really starts to come into play was I would argue that there are people that have been able to get themselves into NBA just raw talent alone, and then based off who they had to play against, and then what they were told as they were growing up, and everything else, they did not develop enough of that dog because ultimately, because of what was put in front of them, they didn't have to, or they thought that they were putting in the appropriate amount of it. And then shit got real.
It's everybody. You stand out as having that extra until you're in a room where everybody has the extra.
Right.
I think of The Incredibles, total kids movie, but I like this phrase.
Awesome. Incredible.
So, shoot, I would say the villain's name, and I forgot what his name is. But the villain in The Incredibles, the first one. He said his magic phrase is, if everybody has superpowers, then nobody does. And that's what it comes down to. If you walk in the room and everybody has that dog in them, well, then nobody does. Which, unless you just are at this other level, the Kobes, the Michaels, the Kevin Durant's.
It's that mix.
And Durant's probably not a great example of that, to be honest with you. He could probably, I don't know if dog is the right one. His issue is a thin skin. That's his issue.
Durant, the other like Durant needs kind of like the other cliche of everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Durant. See, the problem is that he hasn't recognized that he has actually been punched in the face.
No.
And he needs to reevaluate his plan.
Yeah.
Because, sure, skill set, well, for the longest time until some, dude out in Milwaukee showed up, and then arguably some cat out in Denver popped up, and maybe some other guy like that came out of Dallas. I'm
just waiting for his contract to run out, or for him to force his way to Chicago. Last one.
Hometown? Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's a Washington hometown guy, actually. Right? He's actually a
Durant.
DC
No.
guy.
I'm not talking about Durant. I don't want. No, I
Who
don't want any
you
of the
talking
crazy.
about?
I was talking about Luka.
Oh, Luka. Gosh.
Hey man, one can dream. One can dream.
Luka. Have you seen this guy's? Have you seen this guy's like efficiency numbers? This guy right now, and he's been doing this. He's consistent. This guy is he's one of those guys that just will mess around and got a triple double. He's one of those guys that will get he'll mess around, get close to a triple double, but then it's also, you look at all of those other statistics that kind of dig in and kind of figure out to go plus minus on the floor and effective shoot, true shooting effect, all those things, and all of his numbers are stupid.
Yeah.
They're just stupid.
Yeah. All the things that affect winning without showing up in a box score.
Yeah,
he does in droves.
But then he'll also come in with the triple double on top of that.
Stats too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's completely crazy. The Bulls, and this will sound like a knock on DeRozan, but you only go as far as your best player takes you. And all the things that you just said about all the things you just said about Luka has always been the knock on DeRozan.
Yeah.
This is a crazy thing to compare it to, but in a weird way, just kind of follow along with me on this. In a weird way, so fantasy, I like, fantasy sports and all that. I play fantasy football. I've played fantasy basketball, baseball, et cetera, et cetera. So in fantasy basketball, DeRozan, depending on your scoring and everything like that, I'm not trying to get deep into this, but he's an empty calories is the wrong term, but he's going to get you points. Yeah. He's going to get you points. He's going to get you points for points. And that's going to be it. He's going to have 4 or less assists, probably more in the 3 or less assists. He's not a big rebounder. He's not a big 3-point shooter. He's not a good steal. He's not going to get steals.
The assists are the things for him, especially where I really put some weight on, because one of the biggest things were his money making was the points accounted for, right?
Sure.
So you look at his overall scoring and then his assists and the points that were made off of those assists, which is where he really made his mark in San Antonio, and then really
he's far better
Toronto,
than he was
right?
when he was in Toronto. I was just getting ready to say, I don't want it to sound like I'm knocking him. He is an outstanding player. Very glad to have him. But here's his statistics. So he's averaging 4. He's averaging 4 this year. 4 assists.
4 assists. Okay.
3.9 rebounds. So let's say 4 rebounds. But those numbers, it's very rare that DeRozan is going to flirt with a double-double. Forget triple.
Oh, sure.
He's not going to. He
fair.
doesn't. The ball stops with him. And again, this sounds like I'm upset because DeMar's there. He's doing these things because he's the best player. And quite frankly, without him, it's a totally different. It's a dreadful team. So, but all of these things, he's averaging about 24 a game. He's never doing all those other things, all those little things. Defense, he's not going to jump in and take a charge. The reason is because he has to save some energy for the offensive end. He's not exactly a young player. He's got to have that type of thing.
And he can't foul out.
For the love of God. Lamar, Zach is only there. He's not playing back-to-backs for the most part. I think he has once this year. But for the most part, Zach's not right. He's not. His movements aren't right. You've hurt your knee and things like that. The movements that you have normally, and then after a knee injury, you don't bounce like you used to. It looks like he's old, similar to what Anthony Davis and stuff like that.
Let me lay this straight as someone who's had a serious knee injury. You don't walk the same.
No.
Like
you
don't get out of a chair the same. You don't get out of bed the same. And hey, let me break it down for people here. You got to kind of refigure out how you do
other
some
things
stuff
prior to getting out of bed,
down into those late hours of the evening. You got to figure out how to do all that stuff. You got
like the quiet storm needed to be playing, like some thunder rolling in the background.
You need to, and the reason why I say it is because I got my knee injury in like my prime of doing all that shit.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of like being able to do all of those things.
The rest of you was still in shape. You're young.
No, I'm talking about before the injury.
Sure.
I get but in a way, like the Zach side, I mean, in a way, it actually worked out a little bit better for me because I got it in my prime, because then I had much more time to learn how to do
all the stuff.
Basic
with
shit.
With that new wheel.
Yeah. New paradigm. New paradigm, right?
Yes.
Zach is coming in from being like a god dunker.
On a pogo stick. Yeah.
You know, and then he's like, so I don't envy his position in that way, right? And so it's that kind of thing where I feel for him. I feel for him because I would not want to be at that.
No,
like as
and it's
as
not
much,
like as even as a fan, I'm not complaining about it. It's just like it's just factual. This is just what it is. You can tell he goes up for a dunk, and it used to be that he needed to lower himself to be able to dunk. Like he was too high. Yeah. He was going to smack it just flat into the backboard. Just, face first. Just boom. Now it's like, okay, yeah, you made it. Good job. And not so much the dunking. It's not like he can't lift up and go do it. Even that, it doesn't look as easy as it was. It is hard to describe, but it's not like he just floats off the floor up to the rim and dunks it and lands and bounces down the court. It's like you see him winding up to jump, as opposed to just jumping. And when he lands, you see him landing and then
he had that like Dr. J, like Gervin kind of smoothness to it beforehand,
just
right?
Off the floor?
You know what I'm saying?
It was just on the floor. It is back off the floor.
It was just effortless
mm-hmm.
in terms of how the movement and everything else. And
one step was on the ground, the next step was in the air, and
now he's at best a half step, if not like a full step closer to mortal, right?
Yeah.
With his attack to the rim, because prime Zach LaVine was ridiculous, like dunk contest,
and you see he's
stupid.
Not, and he signed a big contract, so there's a lot of things also like lining up to. So he's older being 27. Is he 27? I think he is 27. Still in his prime. It's not like he's an old man. But with the injuries and things like that, he just signed. Oh yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that when we talk more about AD and LeBron, who are aging at the same rate. Unfortunately, they're 10 years apart. But
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, Zach he just signed the big contract, so he's the full-on 5-year max money guy now. He hadn't been. So he's got the pressure of that, which I always find a little bit amusing, I gotta say. I mean, it's pressure, but it's self-made pressure. I would like to have the pressure.
This goes back to like the old wrestling like conversations and everyone talking about blah 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 blah. It's like to start off. This is why you're in the locker room, brother. Like talking with the Young Bucks, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is why you're in the locker room. But then when they talk about like the shine and everything, or the heat coming on in the ring, was like, that's why you in the ring, brother.
Yeah.
Why I use the word brother? I'm just just such a wrestling fucking nut. Like,
it's completely.
But like, because like it's that in locker room terminology. It's that. What are you here for? right?
What else would you be? Yeah, you're supposed to be. I don't care what you're making. You should be putting in the work, doing all you can. And to be fair, that's any job. That any job anywhere, you should be doing all the things. And not all do. And I get that, but that's what's supposed to be happening. Like every NBA player, you probably don't want every NBA player being Dennis Rodman. As far as the quote work that went in, but Rodman put in work just in a really different way compared to what you would consider. He was very big on the work from home. He was very remote with his work, and in a time where that wasn't a thing.
Rodman was a weird case where you had to let him go out and exert his demons elsewhere. So he didn't do them on the floor. Rodman, like I said, I spoke about him about like kind of from like the genetic side of things and kind of that growth spurt kind of scenario. Okay, fair enough. Rodman's a horrible example to compare as far as like being as part of a team, because he was a completely different cat. Like, you actually had like, and while Chamberlain was similar,
it was a different time. I mean, the stuff that went on like, in the 90s.
What I was referring to as players that you had to let them go do their thing outside of the team, outside of stuff that you probably wouldn't let other players get away with. You had to let them do it because they had to exert those demons
for them to be at their best. They had to do
so that they can come back. They got it out their system. Now they can come in and as far as like looking at Chamberlain and Rodman, you cannot argue their effort on the floor and their skill set and what they were like. They gave it their all. And so,
quite frankly, you could argue that far more about Chamberlain than Rodman ever. Rodman is the shining beacon of effort on the court. Sometimes that was the problem. Was the effort? It was too much effort.
Sure.
We were talking about with Patrick Williams when we first brought up Dennis.
The
effort where you can kind of, okay, hang on, I can aim you at least. You're out the gate, but I can at least start to aim you in directions.
But I think especially from Phil Jackson's perspective and his whole coaching philosophy and everything else, the one thing I will agree with him as far as Rodman goes is that I'll take. I'm at a table in Vegas here. I'll take the odds on Rodman being a net benefit than him being a net negative. But I know it's a gamble either way.
Right.
But
exactly.
again, one thing I will not have any concern with whatsoever is his dedication to the team on the court and his effort.
Yeah.
Right? And so
no matter what went on the night before or earlier that day.
It was superhuman. It was superhuman.
Yeah.
The shit he would do.
Yeah.
As far as like what he would do the night before and what he would do on the court. Like people should not be able to do that.
Yeah. It was one of those like I don't even like physically this shouldn't be a possibility. But
fair enough.
Anyhow, I don't want to go back into that.
Like Williams has a completely different problem. Zach has an issue with especially after his injury, of maybe also being maybe a bit more passive.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say. That's why the team needs, and it's not like I say they need X player. It's not that. They have a lot of the pieces that you go, oh, do you need a 2 guard that can shoot and go iso ball? Yeah, okay, we got DeMar. Or if he's a small forward, then you have Zach, whichever one you want to put at that spot. If you have, Zach, okay, you need a flashy, can do everything offensively on the court from the 3 to the dunk and everything in between. That's Zach.
Yeah.
Zach is the most physically gifted player. And it's not really close.
100%.
Including DeMar. DeMar.
Oh, yeah.
DeMar's not a 3-point shooter.
DeMar's been more of...
He's your mid-range assassin.
Skill. He's more of a skill player. He reminds me of like the Truth. I'm sorry. Yeah. Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce.
He reminds me a bit more of a Paul Pierce kind of a player. It's kind of
far
just
more
kind of
athletic.
Far
more
athletic.
Now,
but like.
I never liked Pierce.
But his overall play is a bit more shifty, and just he's shown that he's, especially when he's really on, you can see where he's really comfortable in his skin and able to effectively use his skill set to murder you, right?
Right.
It's that kind of thing, as opposed to some like ridiculously crazy athletic play, right? You're not going to get that out of DeRozan. But that's where I was
anymore.
Like,
young DeRozan, yeah, but no, I mean DeRozan's mid-30s now.
A little bit. I mean, good God, when you're that young, everybody should be looking like an athletic freak. I mean, sure, I'm sorry,
but even for his time, DeRozan was the upper echelon. Pierce was never. I mean, we're agreeing without exactly agreeing. It sounds like
No. And no. And I'm not with all saying that his trajectory like 1-to-1 matched with them.
Sure.
But I think like right now, look at Pierce. Yeah. Look at Pierce with that championship Boston team. Right.
Oh no, Pierce never had the athleticism.
Now
so he
look
had to learn from an early age.
Now look at DeRozan now.
Right.
I see a lot of similarities to the strengths of their game, and it's more about the kind of it's more of a chess match. You
hit the edge, you cut the corner, you do all the little things. You pull all the little stuff that you didn't have to do when you were young and fast.
Things.
You gotta kind of to tilt the shoulder in just this much when you're going around the screen as opposed to going through and just running through it. Little nuances, knowing how to slap somebody's hand without the ref seeing it, just to give a little bit of a little shake, that stuff like that.
You're
That's
right.
Where he's at right now. You have him, and again, it's not like he's doesn't have the killer instinct. He does. He's got a ceiling though, and when your star player, his ceiling is not at the same ceiling of Durant or Steph.
No.
And surely not Giannis.
He needs. I'll tell you what. I will tell you what. You can kind of time warp this whole thing. Defense could be a problem, but DeRozan would be an incredible 3 to Kobe.
Oh, sure. Well, that's all of the stuff that you were just talking about with the nuance to the game and stuff like that is where he got it from. He got it from Kobe. That's
maybe fair enough. But
that's definitely one of his biggest mentors.
The player that he is. Again, I would say, but he probably played with Rick Fox, who never played defense. So screw it. I think I would say DeRozan's a much better defensive player than Rick Fox ever was. But I would say that DeRozan adds more of that kind of that. He's like that quintessential small forward, right? He just kind of, other than, I mean, especially like younger he was, but now he has to be a little bit more shifty with the finishing and things like that. But I mean, fuck it. I'm sorry, but Rick Fox wasn't a freaking incredible like inside finisher either. So if you look at like what DeRozan can do compared to what Kobe was already able to do, like DeRozan needs somebody, and he like, yeah, on paper Zach LaVine looks great, but
well, right now defensively, as weird as this is, they're getting things done defensively while not exactly having any particular guy in the starting lineup that is a lockdown defender outside of Dosunmu. So you have Io at point guard because he's filling in admirably. Second year guy out of Illinois. He, from Chicago, so he's been his trajectory is right on pace. In fact, his trajectory is way off the charts because he's a second round pick from last year. He's not supposed to be on the team practically, much less being a key component, and he was last year. This year he's a starting point guard. He's all the things that you want Patrick Williams to be, and he's not. So that's part of the issue. But I was going to say the Bulls are actually defensive rating much better than they were last year. They have all the they have all the little things, and you go, do you have a bench? Yes. Do you have a starting lineup with star players in it? Yes. But they're not going to scare anybody. And quite frankly, they've come out flat, game in, game out. All the stuff that happened last year is happening again. Just it seems more. Last year was understandable. Now it's an issue. Maybe, so helps, get people in the right place, but he's not that type of a player. As in, he's not Luka. You're not bringing Luka back into the team. You're not bringing, Steph Curry isn't coming back. Heck, even Kyrie isn't coming back. Thank God. Please. But that's my issue with my team right now. That they're broken, but you can't quite put your finger on the clear, absolute reason that they are broken. And when teams are like that, it is so dangerous to mess with it, because you could rip out the part that's weighting you down, or you could rip out the engine. One of those two things could get ripped out. If you, let's trade and get insert play. Let's trade and go get Kevin Durant. The Brooklyn's going to break it up. Let's go get Kevin Durant.
But this speaks to also at the office level.
Yeah.
Where
this is where they're going to this is what makes or breaks a team.
Well,
they either put Russell Westbrook with LeBron, or
maybe, but also it's a situation where, again, you wonder where billionaires become billionaires. They make they make so you're never gonna find a billionaire that at his core is not a gambler.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So in this case,
yeah, the playing
is
safe.
What I would say is, again, from a front office perspective, you get up to that level, you also don't you're gonna have those guys, the billionaires, they're gonna have people around them that are a bit more grounded, that can help
sure
bring them in. But ultimately, just like the players on the court, what you don't want to see is timidness. What you can applaud calculated kind of, no, I'm holding out of this because this is just this isn't a risk I can see bringing in any kind of reward. Okay, fair enough when it succeeds.
Sure.
But ultimately, what you want to see is some level of strategic aggressiveness. Because you don't compete without it. Period. So if the front office isn't doing that,
this is where you start having to question the coaching. Where Billy Donovan, I always say that there are coaches that there are levels when it comes to coaches and any profession, but specifically NBA coaches.
Yeah.
There are levels to that. You want to bring in one guy when everything is on fire or needs to be. You bring in this one guy, whoever it is, disciplinarian usually. He gets things right. He lines up everybody. He gets them to march all together as single file, and go across whatever they're supposed to do. But then he has a limit. Maybe the first round of the playoffs. Maybe not the playoffs, but just where you're a functioning organization. Then you need to get rid of him. He has to go because he can't take you to a championship.
Yep.
You're doing in a different coach who his ceiling may be the playoffs, second round. Maybe a finals, not NBA finals, but Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals. Okay, but that might be just all. That's as far as he's going to take you. And then you have your championship coaches. You don't want Phil Jackson or Pat Riley, but Riley may be an exception. But you don't want Phil Jackson. You don't want to bring him in if everything's on fire. Don't believe me? See the Knicks.
Yep.
So you don't want to bring him in at that point. He's not the architect that's going to build it up from the ground. That's not him. At the end, you've got your stars, you got everybody in place, and you just need some people to polish it up. Absolutely, here's your guy.
Yep.
You don't Scott or Thibodeau, a little more recent. Thibodeau probably isn't a championship coach. Hate to say it because I like Tibbs. I wish he had stayed in Chicago a lot longer. But he's probably not. But he's probably not. He's going to burn your guys out.
Tibbs should have been coaching more in the 90s.
Yeah.
When basketball mirrored football, where defense won championships, right. At least as much as offense. But then
if he had stayed in Chicago, this is the ifs, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
The game
if he stayed in Chicago
him.
and Rose didn't hurt a knee.
Well, sure.
I'll
say this because you touched on some really insightful points. As someone who I manage managers, and then I also manage managers of other managers now. And when for Fortune 500 tech company, I won't name names. You're 100% correct. There are people where if there is a new organization or a new team that needs to be put in place, where I need someone to help tackle a problem, I know whatever that problem is, I know they are the right person to put in there because that's where they thrive.
Yeah.
Right?
They want to take it apart, figure out all the pieces.
And they are going to get it all together and put it in position where it's functional and up and rough and ready, at least. If not, like want like ready like perfect, ready to go, right? They're going to get bored and complacent after everything's good.
You smoothed it out. Now it's like
now. So I need
they
to
almost start breaking it down again.
I need to take that person. Oh, they will.
Yeah.
I need to take that person and say, okay, I need to move them into another area where we need to get things built back up again. There are people that are great on the midline. Team's been established, it's up and going. They are perfectly fine with running a team at that level and helping to maintain the level of excellence that they've already established. Has no concerns with like just hey, they're just as willing to learn as they are to lead. They are in a level where, you know, hey, let's keep things going. Maybe we can find efficiencies on things and let's kind of keep things rolling here. Then there are people where it's like, okay, we got this in place now. We got things up and going. Everything's good. It's going great. Now, depending on what it is, there's a couple of different ways to go. But ultimately, to the basketball analogy, you need the person that's going to send this shit home. Right. It's like, okay, this is the person. Okay, we're at this. I mean, this, and it goes like not necessarily to the individual team. It goes more to the outcome. They either already have a team of people that are thoroughbreds that they can take with them and send it to the promised land. Right. Or they have the authority to recruit the people that they need. But bottom line, they are there to send it home. That's why they're paid. Like that's it. That's their metric. Yeah. Nothing else counts. Second place is not why you hired him. Right. That guy, that promised land guy, you wouldn't fucking put him on a team building. No. Like, he doesn't have the skill set. He doesn't have the skill set.
Yeah. He's going to bring it apart.
He or she. He's going to completely piss off everybody there and just completely wreck the whole thing. Right. And coaching is similar. This is why, like, people talk about, like, oh, this coach got fired, but then he got hired by another team. Yeah. Well, different situation. Yeah. Different because they saw a skill set in him that they could use here. And no, the initial benefit may not completely be seen from the average fan, but when you look at it from a management perspective, I look at this and it's like, yeah, absolutely. For that team, you grab him, perfect, right? But then, like, absolutely. Also it come along with, like, this whole thing about, like, this whole, like, basketball players make good coaches. Like, no,
not necessarily. No, some. Well, it's why the bench warmer makes a good coach.
Yes.
I mean, he was on the court. He was also
he's
there.
Paying attention.
Quite frankly, he spent most of the time with the other coaches.
He spent most of his time watching professional basketball from the floor level.
That's it.
At the practices,
or college
in the
level,
meetings,
or wherever they capped out at. Yeah, because they didn't wake up, roll out of bed, and be able to naturally do all the things that they wanted to do. They either had to really work at it, well, not either. They had to really work at it, whatever it was.
Absolutely.
To get on the court, they had to really work at it. There was no just natural ability given, and they rolled out and were, Michael Jordan's going to go, you just jump over somebody and dunk it. Well, like, why can't you just do that? That's the play. Go jump over him and dunk it.
Jordan, that's why Jordan can never be a coach. It's you have to be able to understand the game of basketball holistically, and you have to be able to. This is why I would argue point guards have a better chance.
A better chance of it, sure.
But really, like backup point guards. This is where backup quarterbacks.
You can't be the star. If you were ever the star, you probably
make great coaches in the NFL. Like especially for offensive coordinators, things like that, because they had more time spent looking at it outside of being on the field. Where it's if you're there again, this speaks to the whole thing about the role model thing, right? Barkley saying, "I'm not a role model." No, he shouldn't be. He's 1% of 1% of professional basketball players, and he's playing it from a very like narrow field of perspective. So you expect Jordan to be a good coach. You can knock on him all day you want.
No.
Expect Larry Bird to be a good coach. If you even at the level of a Steve Nash. Steve Nash, dude, look, you're a point guard. I get it. You understand the overall game of basketball much better than probably anybody else on the floor. I get it, but it's a completely different thing to then work with other people who have different skill sets than what you had,
and find I don't think either of us should judge, or anyone really should judge, the coaching ability of Steve Nash with the mega storm that he walked into as his first. That's just unfair. I don't care who you are. That was a terrible situation to walk in. When you walk in and your star point guard was like, "Well, we don't really need a coach because I'm Zen and whatnot."
Let me put this in perspective. This was an eldritch horror put into a carnival fun house of mirrors, wrapped into a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
that's the Brooklyn Nets. There's
special kind of.
No, that's a special kind of special.
Yeah, it's special kind.
But at the same time, Nash was. I'm not saying there is. I'll tell you what. You know what? Let's wrap this back to the beginning. You know who would have been the best coach for the fucking Brooklyn Nets right now?
Tibbs?
No. No. You know who? Batman.
Who's that?
That's what the Brooklyn Nets need.
In the world. Okay, so we're gonna do a complete crossover.
They need Batman.
We're gonna tie everything together here, right? So which head coach, current or former, would play that role? Would that be Pat Riley?
Maybe. Because
Riley has the LA glitz and glam and slick the hair back and all that prettiness, but Riley will try to take your head off.
The whole reason, these people get it wrong about Riley with the Showtime Lakers. The only reason why the Showtime Lakers worked the way they did is because Riley was a fucking dictator. He did not again, you talk about that dog where second place is not an option. That was Riley. Riley
his
had
first championship where he gets that title, or not his first championship. I want to say it was, I forget the number they were at, but they had never repeated. It was Boston, LA, Boston, LA.
Yeah.
And you knew when he came out during the celebration, I was going to say in Grant Park, that's Chicago. Wherever the celebration is in LA for all their titles, where he turns and at the end of his speech, you know, rah the crowd, and he at the end of the speech he goes, and next year we're gonna do it again, and immediately turns to his team like, you know, we've been doing this little trading back and forth stuff. We ain't doing that.
Is done.
I'm starting to coach for next year right now. I'm telling you, because he says it and immediately turns and he's looking at his team like, and it's sort of like, yay, celebration, but it wasn't. That was not what that was.
Riley's all business. Riley is all business, which is why he was the perfect coach for that glitz and glamour LA team. The glitz and glamour side of it, that was all media. Yeah. That was all media. And like, and put Magic out there. He let his personality shine and just let him be that guy. And then this is the whole reason why Kareem. This is the reason why Kareem worked. The whole idea, the reason why Kareem worked on that fucking team is because, and Kareem will tell you, the only coach he ever 100 respected. He didn't like him, but he 100 respected was fucking Riley. Yeah. Right? Because that guy was all business. No, we are not accepting second. Period.
No. And everything about Riley, he is definitely an exception to the rule, because we got started talking about this when I was talking about Billy Donovan. So I'm not sure Donovan in Chicago this is where he starts. He has hit his ceiling. If you look at his
he's
track
probably
record,
a good mid-level coach.
Right. He'll get you to the playoffs. Maybe second round.
But I'm speaking more from the standpoint of he should probably be placed on a team that's the mid-level has already been established.
But he had. And this is why I say I do question. I don't think he needs to be fired or anything like that. People are jumping to conclusions, especially, we're fans. So at the end of the day, some of us are just a little crazier than others. But, everybody's throwing, Billy Donovan should be fired. And now stop, pump the brakes. Let's chill. But if you do go back and look at Billy Donovan, when he, not in Chicago, put him back when he first came to the NBA, and his team was a young Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. I'm sorry, not young. They were primed by this time. And the furthest he ever got them, was Harden on that? No, Harden was gone by then. I was trying to remember if Harden was there yet. The farthest he ever got them was a 3-1 lead over the Golden State Warriors. And he couldn't close it out.
Okay.
So they ran the same plays. He's not I believe he's he's a nice guy. The Bulls are filled with a lot of nice people. Yeah. A lot of people that you want to sit and have Thanksgiving dinner or bring over to, meet your folks or hang out with, and, let your kids hang out at their house, things like that. They have a lot of those. Billy Donovan, really nice guy.
I wonder if maybe he might be a better coach for a LeBron. And
it didn't work for KD and Russ. Not that he couldn't get along. He got along with them great.
That's what I'm saying. LeBron is good, bad, or indifferent. Someone who you can knock him all you want to, but his grasp of the game of basketball is not something you can. He's actually someone who I think could potentially go into the coaching market.
Sure. He never will, but I know what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Like his overall grasp of basketball. So imagine what Phil Jackson did with Jordan. Right? And then what he was able to do with, say, like Kobe and Shaq. He's a smooth talker.
Yeah.
He's a shaman. He's that spiritual leader. Now it helps that he has
jewelry.
But no. Rex Winters triangle offense.
Winters. Yeah.
Behind that. But like
that's what I was getting ready to. I actually think that might be what Philly's missing. It may be the assistant. You need somebody that is okay with being the bad guy. You know,
dude, I guarantee that is my job.
They don't have it on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, Andre Drummond is sort of infusing a little bit of that.
Yeah. But what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah,
we gotta toughen this shit up.
Bit of that.
Let's fucking get this thing going. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the coach. Like, if you, again, it's one of those things like you were alluding to earlier. This is why the front office gets paid the big bucks. In short, you're about to decide your legacy, and this is going to be where you decide it. Because you could rip out the heart, or you could rip out the dead weight. And the dead weight,
it could, ideally, it'd be much more surgical, right?
Yeah,
you're cutting out the tumor,
right?
And it's let's find something else to fill its place and help heal everything. And
everything else can breathe easier now that this tumor isn't.
Yeah, you made up a good point about like the assistant coaching and things like that. Look, my job at kind of the director level it's weird because my overall, the org I've pretty much been put into is pretty much ensconced. So at least right now it would be more of a detriment to move me than it would be to keep me on. So I'm the asshole. I am the guy that, what now? I don't hear you.
Oh, there we go. How's that?
Yeah, there we go.
I said I'm completely shocked by that
completely
statement,
shocked.
Honestly,
I'm the asshole. But also it works because I'm, again, not going into many details about my life, but what I will say is that my overall job is overseeing competitive intelligence. So our job is not necessarily about showing all the things where HP, where I work for, fuck it, is shining. It's more about the actual, like good, bad, and the ugly, right? And I don't care about someone trying to make their mark to make a product look good if they are trying to make that mark by kind of shining their product to make it seem good, even if it isn't. That's not my role. My role is to come in and say, no, other companies already been doing this.
Right.
Other companies actually already developed the product and they've already matured it, and it's actually looking pretty damn good right now. And da. And I run into so many, especially with you think about from basketball. Yeah, I expect it. A bunch of young product managers trying to make their mark, and they don't have all the context, they don't have all the experience, and they think because they were the ones assigned to it, it has to be 100% perfect. Because why not?
Right.
Because they were the ones assigned to it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My job is to burst their fucking bubble. My job is to tell them that they're wrong, that they need to dig in deeper into the nuances, and I can give you, and this is the other beauty of my job, because just like Batman, I am more prepared than you in this conversation. I have years of data to pull from to talk about this and talk about all these nuances where you're trying to go for the next shiny thing and it isn't going to work. But so here's the trick. There are also teams that I will have to figure out people to assign to completely new projects from HP, right? Mm-hmm. And I can say, okay, here's an opportunity to assign someone to lead out and help with this project. It's not going to be the same person that I have at the very top level that has to deal with the executives and I love actually you had you didn't intend it, but you had your finger at your temple when I said executives. That's about right. That's about right. You who do I put in front of those people? Because every morning they wake up is potential suicide.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It is a different management mix. To relate it to the NBA, coaches, right? It's a different skill set to build up a team and to develop younger talent and to help make them truly really rough and ready NBA players ready to go. Let's see how this works, right? And then it's a different group and a different talent that can take that level of people to then, okay, now I can make this a playoff ready team, right?
Right.
Got one or two stars here, but there's a lot of that group that's been put into that rough and ready, right? And then there's a whole nother mix of people that can be able to work within the confines of working with championship ready teams. And let me reiterate this. This is assuming that the paradigm and the structure that I am talking about right now is as restricted as that. Sometimes you're going to hit fire.
Right.
Look at the Golden State Warriors. Their first championship run before KD, right?
Right.
Was the first, did they get 2 before KD or 1? I don't remember. But their championship runs before KD even came into the mix.
Right.
That team shouldn't have been anywhere. Anywhere. But they had, like, Kerr coming in off the Popovich, like, program. They had a good kind of grouping of people. And then, you know, they had fucking Steph Curry. You know, you have
right.
that spark in the pan talent, right? You know, but Kerr, give credit to Kerr to be able to recognize what to do with it. But Kerr's an interesting case because he's okay. He played in the NBA, played championship basketball in the NBA, has been a student of Phil Jackson and Popovich.
Right.
Like, who, like, not many coaches get that, like, level of development and experience.
Hands-on, day in, day out. Walk through how it all worked. Yeah.
Coaching's hard. Coaching is very hard. And there's a lot of times where people, like, as long as you're not banging a secretary over your desk, maybe you might actually make something of yourself.
Right.
That guy actually had that guy was another guy that had,
well, see,
like, a good, like not just the fact that he got him to the finals, the fact that just the whole season and the way that whole thing ran out, the way he was doing everything.
Yeah.
I couldn't fault it. On the court, everything else, I couldn't fault it. Now he's don't bang your secretaries. I don't know if he's banging a secretary, but just like whoever it was. Just
keep it in your pants. Come on, bro. Yeah, no, and honestly, but to be fair, now a guy like that is also out there. Is he the type that is needed? And as long as he's out there, it's going to be those types of coaches that everybody's going to kind of start looking at Billy, because now the team has started repeatedly having the same issue. And you know, from management, if a group of people, if there's a lot of, you know, you turn people over internally, you've turned them over in the department. Exactly. And the same thing keeps happening. You're like, hang on, maybe it's not the department, maybe it's what's just above the department. That's the issue. And so that's really where it's not effort, it's just energy. It's not like they're not playing hard. They play. It's such a fine line, because playing hard would seem like you're playing with a lot of energy, but not necessarily. You may be doing all the right things, but you're just doing them a little slowly. And that's what they routinely have. And it's their starters, no less, for Chicago. It's the starters that are routinely the issue. And, you know, okay, you could put Patrick Williams on the bench and start Javonte Green. That's not, you know, you're not winning any titles that way. That's not the issue. So it's just a strange case. And whenever it comes down to that kind of, it's hard. It's hard. They're not fully healthy. You know, Lonzo isn't there, but still. It's like, it's high up as I am. I'm not managing millionaires. I'm not managing people making more money than me. Yeah, which is it's a tough thing to do. Right? Technically shouldn't affect you, but it does.
Well, it's more a matter of their mindset.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, not
Right.
you. I mean, it shouldn't affect the hierarchy,
It should, but
does.
but more like, okay, think about like kind of the coach to the player dynamic, right? The you know, are you someone that can come in and effectively put a plan together when there are people that are making millions of dollars more than you?
Yeah.
That like you don't got to deal with that in the college ranks.
No, because
Not
in the
even
college ranks,
close.
it's the other way around. Even if they are making some side money, it's the other way around. It's Coach K's court. It's not, you know, Jason Williams or Grant Hill or enter other star player that has come through Duke. It's Coach K's court.
Yep, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. And so then you get into the NBA, and it's completely different ball.
And I think that's what Billy is kind of perhaps struggling with. Not struggling with it, maybe just be his cap. And it's not that he's such a horrible coach that he should be fired. It's not that. He's just he's peaked.
I agree.
He just is. This just where his ceiling is. And, you know, not everybody's a head coach. Some people are assistants in the NFL. I'm thinking NFL at the moment. Some people, a great coordinator, should never be a head coach. Some people are good, you know, quarterbacks coaches, but should never be the offensive coordinator. Right. It's okay to cap out at a certain spot. That's just where you are. Be the best at that.
Yep.
It's those guys that get, or, you know, men or women that get promoted over their head. Those are the ones where you start having problems. Oh, you're the president. Microsoft could call me today and I could become the president of Microsoft. Thank you, first off. And I will look into your severance package because that will be quickly coming.
Exactly. that is my inroad. Right?
Yes, that is very something we should definitely look into and make sure that's locked up.
It's basketball and like sports in general is a different thing. You know, it's interesting how the head coaching position is so disparately different between, say, basketball, football, and baseball. Well, I'm sorry. Baseball doesn't even have a head coach. They have a manager.
But
fair enough. And they're wearing a uniform just like everybody else. And more of the decisions of kind of the quote unquote head coach kind of shit kind of gets morphed in kind of the general manager role in baseball a little more than it does in other sports. It's a different beast. Football and basketball is a little bit closer, in the sense that the head coach role is a bit more isolated. I get right. It has its purpose, and it's a different beast than baseball.
Right.
What I will say is that it's very easy to come in and say, "Oh yeah, this head coach is a bum."
Sure.
And it's
a bit of a cop.
Oh, and then they get fired by this thing, and then why do they get hired by this other team? You see it all the time in business.
Sure.
If you get up, if you've put yourself into the position of being a CEO, getting fired by a company is not a death, because you've already built up the skill set to be a CEO, which is a very limited talent pool.
The talent pool is small.
It's very, very slim.
Yeah.
So, and then that's not to say obviously people work their way up and other things happen, but
Sure.
especially
People age out and age in. You know, there's all that.
But you have, like, people think about, like, oh, well, he got fired by this thing. How did he get hired by this other thing? Because he's already done the thing. It's not like you're not like tapping into the same percentage of people. Are they like who's available at the time? Who's committed to what? Like there's
and again,
so
just where are you
things.
in the stream too? Are you at the far end or are you at the beginning? Oh, you're at the beginning. Well, this guy's good at the beginning. He went haywire in the middle or end. Okay, well, fair enough.
Yep.
We'll ride the wave.
Hey,
let's get to the playoffs, and then we're
exactly. This guy helped this other team get in, and because ultimately, from the owner's perspective, it's all about the playoffs.
Sure.
All about the playoffs.
You get the playoffs, and that's where owners and owners are not immune to that type of a thing either. Some owners are looking for the dollar at the end, and it's just a business. And unfortunately, the Bulls ownership has tended to be that. Their love, Jerry Reinsdorf, his love is baseball. His business is basketball, and he happened to be the owner of a team that took off, and Michael and Scotty showed up, and away they went. But that's not his love. His love is baseball. He owns the White Sox. Right. That's the one that he wants to win. If he, in fact, I want to say in the interview they asked him that one time, and it comes down. Of course, you want to win in everything, sure. But where's your love? Your love's baseball. You'll do by any means necessary to win in baseball. Basketball is your bread and butter to make sure that baseball is taken care of. So you're going to go about it a totally different thing. It's a business. It's not your pastime. It's not all of that. So, if I own the Bulls, I want to win every single solitary year because I'm a fan. I will understand rebuilding, but it's going to be a clear path, and I want a title within the first 5 years of that type of thing, and every year after that until we have to go through the 2-year rebuild no more, and right back at it. Because I would run it like a fan. I'd want to win. I would be much more Mavericks owner, Mark Cuban. I would be much more Mark Cuban on the sideline, yelling and screaming. And some NBA front offices are more of that. They want to win, winning above all else. Oh, we're gonna pay some luxury tax. Cool beans. Keep it moving. Not just willy-nilly, but it is a business at the end of the day. Nobody likes wasting money. But if we're gonna have to sign Steph Curry to a 10-year or 5-year contract, okay, you're gonna have to pay luxury tax. Yep, okay, we're gonna make that in tenfold.
Yep.
Whereas the Bulls have paid the luxury tax exactly once in their history. So yeah, there's that.
So the
that's just a long way of saying it levels up, and the same tiers kind of hit when it comes to ownership and things like that.
And so let's think about this from the business management side of our other love being wrestling.
Yeah.
Right? A big part of the whole thing is, the gamble. And again, this is what I was talking about, where sometimes as a matter of fact, you don't have those billionaires without those risks being taken.
Sure.
Thing is that they worked out. Take it to the wrestling business. They're putting out contracts for wrestlers. Start putting in, it says, okay, you get maybe this percentage of the gate, you get like this, like so much for, your being on front of television at prime time for different spots. You have like a certain downside guarantee. You get a certain percentage of merchandise sold. It's another aspect of the NBA.
Right.
It's even bigger than NFL. NBA has a much larger revenue upside in merchandise sold than the NFL ever will per individual player. And I'm not saying that just because obviously, there's fewer players in the NBA. I'm talking about star value.
Sure.
You have players that have certain upside revenue coming into the company based off of name recognition, which ultimately boils down to, most importantly, the cleanest way to assess it is merchandise.
Sure.
I sell merchandise at the live store, at the live, the games.
Events. Yeah, right.
I'm a wrestling promoter. I've got t-shirts with the guys on the thing. And then if that guy's selling more merchandise, then I can sell more things and I can do all this stuff, right?
Right, yeah.
This is the big problem with Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Ric Flair argument. Because Steve Austin's upside and his draw money accounted for merchandise. That wasn't even remotely a thing when Ric Flair wrestled.
Sure. It was him.
It was just him.
It was the show.
Also,
it was the show.
That's nothing you don't see in the NBA. Well, NBA to a point, because how much of that draw to that arena is about the team that your team is playing, right? Stone Cold had the benefit of a much deeper and much more representative mid-card at the event, whereas Rick was the draw.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Nobody was showing up for Joe Schmo versus Whittly McFinger Pants. Like what he was, like where he was sticking his thumb is in his own business.
Yeah, that's back then especially.
People were showing up fucking Ric Flair.
Yeah.
That's it. So there's a whole nother, but to attach this to the NBA, there is a whole nother bit, like this whole thing about like, oh, we just want to get to the playoffs. Oh yeah, you want, like, people do it from a coaching perspective. We talk about it from a coaching perspective, team perspective. Yeah, you want to get to the playoffs. No, the ownership is talking about, no, we need to get teams into the playoffs, because then if we're contenders for the playoffs, especially at the tail end of the season, we're going to get more butts in seats, more merchandise sold, more whatever is also attached to that. And then, like, the deeper we get into the playoffs, the better the upside guarantee. I'm sorry, the downside guarantee is for our overall payoff, because the teams effectively get paid more for being in the playoffs because you're part of the product that's being presented on television. You're just making more money. It's you could be like amongst the best in season,
right?
But if you turn it around and win whatever games you need to win, and then you're in the playoffs and the other team isn't, then sorry,
right?
You're making more money. It's and so that's another thing too to it, where they're trying to figure out, okay, all right, let's look at, well, I mean, okay, let's attach it to a very obvious tagline: the process.
Right. Who went off the other night? Almost had a quadruple double.
Well,
59 points.
The name has been attached to Joel Embiid, but the process started way before him. No idea of, this is where like somehow, some way they have like 500 power forward. It was like
that was hilarious.
Every power forward in the draft,
hilarious.
They had it. It's like OKC now, you know. It's maybe that's why OKC's doing it. I don't know, but
OKC never really tanked though. It's the weirdest thing with them. We're gonna have we're gonna do a video on OKC. We need to do that soon because
we do.
I had to put together slides that for that, and before we know it, they're all gonna be out of date because Sam Presti would have.
Yeah, we're gonna do it, and then the Holmgren got hurt, and other shit like LA and Brooklyn blew up.
Just took over.
But hey, you know, so let's, you know what? That's a good point. Let's talk about basketball on the court. Let's talk about the ridiculous blow up Joel Embiid. That dude.
He just tried to get all of the stats. And that's his thing, too. I mean, Embiid is, when on the court, and you have to preface it with that. You have to preface it. Yes, he's been better and more on the court and things like that. In a league of, you know, as everybody's a wing, he's sort of a anomaly being a big, powerful center. And he's finally figured out he is a big, powerful center. So be big and powerful.
No, what he figured out was that he's a 300-pound wing.
Yes, true. Fair enough. That's a good call. I like that. Yeah,
because look at, especially like a lot of the critiques, and I was guilty of it myself to an extent. Because especially when he started coming out, and there's a little, just enough of that old school mentality where it was like, you're bigger than everybody on the floor, power yourself down and beat everybody up. You heard it from Shaq ad nauseum on the TNT side. But, and this is why Charles Barkley got a $317 million contract with TNT.
Right.
Because he basically countered Shaq and said he's not best suited to be that slow,
physically
clunky. I'm only he's like Jose was like, this is the thing with Barkley told Shaq. He's like, I'm only talented because I'm big, guy.
Right.
And then Shaq was like, oh, like, and Barkley's like, you're only talented because you were big.
Yeah.
And he's like, Embiid has more skill than that. And now injuries and all that stuff. And he's still dealing with it now with like the fasciitis and stuff, especially late in the game.
Well, he is still a big dude. I mean, your
But
feet
he got
aren't
what's
made
so
for that type of
crazy.
pounding.
What's so crazy? He had so many ridiculous offensive moves. Not just the finishing, but again, like his stat show with his playmaking and because
the man
gravity.
had 59 points, 11 rebounds. To be fair, 11 rebounds seems kind of low compared to all these other numbers. You go, wait, you only 11? 8 assists, a steal, and 7 block shots. Like I'm not sure. Just that's insanity.
Here's the thing. The reason why he didn't have as many rebounds, and this is why I was saying he's like a 300-pound wing.
Yeah,
the reason why he didn't have as many rebounds is because he was playing his best basketball was played from pretty much dead center out from the free throw line.
Well, and and I mean, he did have 59 points, which means the offense was running through him, and he didn't miss a lot.
No, it was very efficient. It was very efficient, and a lot of that was pretty much played like what you would expect from your typical, like, small forward / shooting guard kind of role. He was really coming in like. He was coming in with like ISO plays, and like he was getting screens.
Yeah, he was 19 of 28. Yeah, exactly. Your center is getting a screen. 19 of 28, 20 of 24 from the line. First off, you went to the line 24 times. That's crazy.
Break out the stats where you're going to see that most of his blocks came out on the tail end because...
Yeah, it was mostly in the fourth quarter.
Because
he got 5
effectively what it was, his offensive game started to drop, and so he started putting more of his energy on defense.
Right.
That's an in-game decision that he made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, completely. And that's
most of his blocks came on the latter end of the game, and he was able because also, but again, it was a smart move by him, because then, like, he'd been playing the whole game one way, and then they effectively shifted it.
Right. Because, this is where we're at.
Now, he was focusing more on defense than on offense, whereas before, he was focusing more on offense than defense. And then, especially at the tail end of the game was close for a good part. Like,
the game was definitely,
It was very close. It was against Utah, too.
I was going to say, that's another team we need to talk about that was supposed to be... and they'll probably be coming back down to earth sooner than later. But, hey, till then, they're a team that was supposed to be in total rebuild, get that number 1 pick, and here they are, rising. You know, I've got my own... we'll have to save that for another stream. We'll have to talk about Utah
and another team. Another team I want to talk about is the Timberwolves.
I haven't been watching them as much, just simply because I don't kind of cross them as much with
so the one thing
games.
the one thing I would suggest you look at is their star lineup versus their second lineup.
I know they're having issues. I just haven't kept up with Minnesota as much.
Slight spoilers. The difference is when D'Angelo Russell's on
the court, or when he's not
on the court. When he's on the court.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to tell you whether it's good or bad. Just
So
look
who's
at it.
when he's not on the court, who's their other guy?
Well, there's a. So here's the thing. It's not about stat wise. It's not a. McLaughlin is his backup, but it's not about McLaughlin's stats on the floor. It's about everyone else's stats.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. That means that how is Anthony Edwards and him doing together? Yeah, I was like, as soon as you said that, I'm like, okay, hold up. This is a simple one.
You look at Edwards, you look at Cat.
We're gonna have to
and
talk.
Also,
okay, so
there's another dynamic between Cat and Gobert.
Coming into the season, they were in. I wanted to kind of focus on them, but the season's just been absolutely crazy, and I haven't been able to follow
stupid.
up. But one of the things I was waiting to see was Anthony Edwards. They brought in Gobert, and again, from afar, I'm not a Minnesota fan by any stretch. Kind of did so you have Gobert, and you have Towns, and you have Anthony Edwards, Russell, who's almost the forgotten man. Feel sort of bad for him sometimes, to be honest with you. It's like he just kept getting shipped out, but not necessarily his fault. They have a lot of good star players, but at some point somebody wants to be or has to be the clear guy. Edwards is clearly the guy you probably are building around, but I don't know that him and Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert and Russell, it's just a weird mishmash of parts. Just because you put it all together doesn't seem like it's a good fantasy lineup, but not necessarily on the court lineup. But yeah, we'll definitely get into having to talk about them. It is also 3:30 a.m.
And I'm gonna let you go. But I like this team right now because for me, I love to find examples where star lineup does not equate to success.
Well, because it depends on what kind of depends on the mindset. It's why the Golden State Warriors are such a good example of when you bring stars together, the type of players that they are. Well, we were talking about the good people thing earlier, how the Bulls have a lot of good guys that are nice people and too many of them. That's when the nice person thing kicks in. If you can have mega stars and they are good people, Draymond may be the exception. Draymond is the exception, but Steph is a good guy. Clay is a good guy.
Steve Kerr is at least. Well, Kerr isn't. Kerr's again. This is where Curry and Kerr get along very well because they're both that quiet assassin type.
Babyface assassin.
Don't doubt Kerr's.
I don't know that Steve Kerr would ever be like. You would see like his face goes bright red.
That's what I'm saying. Kerr's got that because dude
he's got that dog in him.
Dude got into a fist fight with Jordan. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And had the benefit of being coached by both Jackson and Popovich.
Sure.
I mean, that's like PhD level NBA coaching.
Yeah.
It's and like Kerr's
and at various points of his career, no less.
Yes.
It was early in his career, and as the rising, I need to get off the bench and be able to be a part of this team. To okay, man, your career's ending. You only got a year or two left, type of guy. So
what are you gonna do?
But yeah, exactly. And learning how to increase and then be not okay with, but understand how Father Time works and how you're not what you used to be.
Maybe it's something to talk about around some of that kind of that different coaching philosophy and figure out like the success of it. Like we have a lot of Popovich spawns in the NBA right now. His tendrils are deeply rooted, and it'd be interesting to look at the success rate of those people, either as players or assistant coaches under Pop or things like that, because you've got a lot of coaches right now that are yet to become those star coaches only because they haven't won a championship yet.
Sure.
And then also even coaches that have won championships, like Milwaukee, where they're still not a household name, right? And coaching environment has changed. It's a different beast right now.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? I would argue, still proven wrong, that I would think that people that have come out of the Popovich school will be shown to have overall better success right now. But that's not the only place for coaches to come from, and be blind to say so. Be the only place that people could come in and find success. I just curious to kind of parse that out and say, all right, well, let's see how this looks, because optics wise, we see a bit more of a solid coaching camp coming out of the Popovich school. But maybe it's not, and especially as this year comes out and plays out, maybe we can kind of find a bit more of a different trend there. But obviously, I mean, it's gonna bore out, because not everybody's gonna be able to come out of the top. You're just gonna age out of it, right? But
right, absolutely. Right
now, I don't know. Pop's still like just like kind of kicking in the mix there
he may be one of those guys
with the people that
the only way he leaves is
work for him and everything. It's no. So that would be something interesting to play out. The other thing, okay. Oh, we're gonna end it right now. But the other thing we're gonna talk about, okay, December 23rd, we are celebrating Festivus. We got a lot of problems with people, you people, other people, everybody. We haven't decided yet. But we're going to celebrate Festivus for the rest of us. December 23rd. By God, we're going to make it happen. You might find me sitting back with a freaking iPhone camera speaking into a mop. But we're going to make it happen.
It's gonna be coming from his basement, the corner of the roof.
Coming live to you all from my basement in the middle of the cold Siberian tundra. What is the poll? We gotta bring in the poll.
Yeah, we'll have to go and look that. I've got to go. I can't remember. God,
I haven't watched Seinfeld in so long. I feel horrible.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm sitting there.
Poll. Does someone like whoever puts in enough super chats will get pulled.
Yeah.
By the pole. A hint. A hint to the grievances. As a man in his upper years, as we're heading into the winter months on the northern hemisphere, I will say that I'm a man who is losing hair on the northern hemisphere and then somehow gaining hair on the southern hemisphere
and everywhere else. Yeah,
I'm gonna let.
This is gonna be. December 23rd is gonna be a very interesting stream. I gotta tell you.
I'm gonna let that percolate, if not be seeded into the minds.
There's your mental image for the night, everyone.
Everyone listening. So I am a man with less hair on his head than he has on his ass.
There's your mental image. Thank you all for getting on here, listening to us ramble on tonight. Tonight was definitely a very loose, just chit-chatting and having some fun. We hadn't been on for a little while.
We got to do it every now and then.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna come back with some updated videos, kind of what's going on in NBA wrestling.
I think especially as the holiday time comes in, we start feeding into the trade deadline, the All-Star break, that kind of thing. That's where things really...
NBA, I mean, the thing with the NBA, a lot of times people say the season doesn't really get started until Christmas. So that's,
that's not entirely wrong.
That's a good spot.
It's not entirely wrong.
But it's a good spot to assess. Okay. By that time, Lowry marketing would have settled back into being Lowry. And so, stuff like that. That's my Bulls plug to just make fun of him. Anyhow, we will get into all of that. But otherwise,
hey, we love you all. This is Getting Work signing off.
Later, fam.
Chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah.